So, Derrick, tell me a little bit about this special of yours that you're doing.
Yeah, so this special is called Joe Exotic Before He Was King, and it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. So anybody who watched the Netflix special, Tiger King, this is kind of, I'd like to call it the prequel to that because yeah, we have a lot of things in the Netflix special, the six-part series, but it doesn't really answer the why. It doesn't really answer why Joe Exotic is the way he is and how he became like that. And that's what this special does. It really dives into Joe Exotic's past as a child, as a teen, as a young adult, some of the traumatic experiences that he went through personally that may have contributed to him becoming the person we all know him to be today.
Wow. And what would you say was the biggest challenge about making this?
Well, I will say I wasn't part of the actual editing or producing part of it, but my role was to simply do my research from an investigator's perspective, watch the footage provided, and give my analysis on it. And it was difficult because here I am as an investigator who sees thousands of cases that need more visual notoriety. They need to be out there in the public. And I see this case where Joe Exotic, who, let's be honest, by definition is a criminal, gets all this attention. But the way I looked at it was there is something positive that can come out of this special, which is we can be informed. We can learn what happened in Joe Exotic's life and how it relates to who he is today, and maybe change things in our society that will contribute to people becoming like a Joe Exotic not happening as frequent, because a lot of the things he experienced are things that viewers who watch the show are going to be empathetic to. They may have experienced it in their own lives. So I think there's definitely something in addition to the entertainment value it's going to bring is the educational value, which is learning from Joe Exotic's mistakes and what we can do as a society to make sure people get the help they need so they don't turn to a life of crime.
And without giving too much away, what was the most surprising thing you learned about him?
For me personally, it was definitely the fact that he was a former police officer. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that this guy, who I just watched 6 hours of, was a cop. I mean, it's really scary to think about. Yes, we have to qualify and say he was the only cop in that town and he was the only one who applied for the position. But nevertheless, he had a badge and a gun for a period of time, and that's scary to think. But again, as far as the why, it did answer the why for me on the Netflix special, where it was like, why is this guy carrying around a gun all the time like he's a police officer? And after finding that out through my own research, that's something that was very interesting to me, and that's when I said, aha, now I understand.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very surprising fact too. I never would have thought that either. I never would have thought that
No,
he was a cop.
no,
Not at all.
no, 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 no.
And what was your favorite part about working on this special?
Well, I think for me, it's so easy to watch this episode and feel really bad for Joe and feel really bad for, the things that he experienced and maybe even like make an excuse for him as to why he became the person he was. And I think my role in the show is to just kind of bring people that back to earth and say, listen, yes, this man went through some traumatic things, but a lot of people go through traumatic things in their life and they don't turn to a life of crime. And at the end of the day, Joe Exotic is an opportunist. He's a criminal. He killed and exploited beautiful, harmless, exotic animals. And he also tried to have a woman killed who was attempting to basically ruin his criminal activity. So at the end of the day, he's a bad guy. He's in prison. He's where he should be. And it's okay to, sympathize with Joe, but remember, and that's what my role is in the show, is to constantly remind the viewers that he's a criminal. So don't fall for his tricks, because a lot of these interviews that you're going to see on the show, he knows exactly what he's saying and doing when he's saying it.
Exactly. And from the point of view as an investigator and a cop, how do you feel knowing that he was a cop? I mean, I know you said you were a bit surprised, but how do you feel knowing a fellow man in blue would act this way?
Well, personally, again, I don't really consider him a brother in blue at all because, again, the requirements to become a cop were simply who wants the job? And he raised his hand and they got it. So he didn't go through the requirements and restrictions that there are in place today for law enforcement. But yeah, it was scary. It was scary from the perspective to think that at one point in time in Eastvale, Texas, he was the law. He was deciding your freedom. And I'm sure someone like him, who is a narcissist, as you'll see in the special that we did, loved that power and probably exercised that privilege numerous times. I don't even want to know what type of stories probably came out of Eastvale, Texas while he was in charge. So it's a really scary thing to think about, because the fact that he was the guy who decided yes or no, guilty or not, that's scary.
I can imagine. I want to say, as an aside, as a daughter and niece of a cop, thank you for all you do. It's amazing.
No, I appreciate it. We have a lot to go. We're in a position right now. We're in a world right now where there's a lot of distrust with law enforcement. And I think together as a community, we can all come together to make police changes, to make police reform, and have it so that the community over time eventually trusts us again and allows us to protect and serve them the way that we should.
Exactly. Well, you always have my support, just to let you know.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
And what else are you working on these days?
Well, like anything, it's always like, oh, you can't say too much. I can tell you that I have a project going on right now that I'm filming next month involving true crime, which I'm excited about. It was supposed to happen before COVID. Obviously, COVID put a damper on it. We have some audio stuff coming out soon that you may see with someone I work with very often. But other than that, what I'm really focusing on right now is just continuing to work the cases. I have a private investigation firm here in Rhode Island, just continuing to work cases for these families and certain law firms to try to get them the justice they deserve. And that's really been my main focus right now.
Nice. And of course, all your fans know you from winning Big Brother a few years ago. We got to know who you're rooting for, and are you watching?
I'm watching the episodes. I'm rooting for Cody. Obviously, he's my best friend. But I've definitely taken a step back. Like I always say, it's one of those things where Big Brother is not reality. It's reality TV, but it's not reality. The episode that we're doing here, Joe Exotic Before He Was King, this is a reality. There are people out there like Joe Exotic, and we have to bring light to what's going on in this world, because Joe Exotic wasn't the only one doing these types of activities. He wasn't the only one illegally breeding and killing animals. There are still individuals who are free right now that are doing it as we speak. So I really am hoping that by, working on this episode, and getting this exposure out there to the public, it may lead to more people like Joe Exotic who are criminals ending up where he is. And that's really what my focus is right now. Big Brother's great, but again, it's a game, and this is reality.
Gotcha. And one thing I like to ask the people I interview is, tell me a fun fact about yourself that might surprise your fans.
A fun fact about me is right now, to try and broaden my intelligence, and broaden my knowledge about investigations in general. I'm currently taking my master's degree in cybersecurity, because although the physical crimes that are occurring every day in our society are dangerous, I do believe that the future is cybercrime and will be the ultimate threat to everyone in this country because of how much technology is used. So I want to try and get ahead of that curve. I mean, I'm already behind, I guess, but I want to educate myself, become an expert in that field. So I'm doing cybersecurity engineering so that I can use my investigative skills to assist people who are victims of cybercrime in the future.
That's amazing. Good for you. How long do you have to
Thanks.
go in the program?
I have 4 classes left.
Yes, awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. It's been the hardest thing I've had to do educationally from an academia perspective, but it's been fun, and it's also been scary, but it'll be something that I'll definitely explore in the future, and I'm glad I did it.
Good. And what are you watching on TV these days, considering with COVID, we all have time to watch TV?
Yeah, for me, I'm not a big TV watcher, but, I do catch a couple shows, like you said, Big Brother. I've definitely caught some ID specials. I really like the way they're showcasing certain cases that we heard of in the past, but they're doing it in a docu style, so you can kind of get facts that you've never heard before. And I like looking at that from an investigative perspective. But that's really it. Right now, I'm trying to stay away from the TV. even though I'm talking about being on it right now, and I'm more focusing on family, health, and just making myself a better person, trying to turn this negative thing as far as COVID into a positive by, improving who I am as a person and as a father and as a husband.
That's wonderful. Your wife and your kids are lucky to have you. And how do you balance it all, being a daddy, a husband, and being an investigator?
I think it's like any parent out there, any person who's a mother, a father, a husband, a wife, we're all in a position, we all have to work to provide for our families. So I think, honestly, I think I have it pretty easy. I think my wife has it way harder. I think the women in this country and what they do as mothers is just incredible, because they provide something, especially for a father of two daughters. She contributes in a way that I never could. And she also works a full-time job. So I got it easy. I just got to be the fun dad. You know what I mean? My job's easy compared to the mothers out there.
Well, for what it's worth, your girls are lucky to have you.
Thank you. It means a lot. Appreciate that.
No problem. Is there anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, I'm just enjoying hearing the feedback on the special. I think that, anyone who enjoyed the Netflix special is really going to enjoy this special as well. It's not going to just be regurgitation of what you've already seen. It's new stuff. It's exclusive interviews with people who are close to Joe. And it's a different perspective. We're coming at it from a perspective where we have real experts on the show who take a deeper dive into the mind of Joe Exotic. And I think people are going to really be surprised at what they get out of this special. So I'm hoping everyone tunes in to check it out.
Absolutely. We can't wait to watch it. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Amy. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.